We visited Custer State Park near Custer, South Dakota in the fall of 2019 for 2 days. If you would like to get notices when I post again, be sure to subscribe right here. Just click on that button. This is the area covered by Custer State Park. It is established in 1912 and has approximately 2.3 million visitors a year. At 71,000 acres, it's the largest state park in the nation, and I think equivalent to most national parks in what you can see there. And now it's time to go through the official entrance into Custer State Park. We get a pass where we'll be able to go in and out for the next 3 days. Custer State Park is as big as most of our national parks, so we'll be looking at just the northern part today. Let's get on the road. One of the main lodges here is the State Game Lodge. Both President Coolidge and Eisenhower have spent time here while they were presidents. Now it's time to head northeast. We'll still be staying in Custer State Park, but we're going to be on the Needles Highway going north. The Needles Highway is 14 miles long and is closed during the winter due to snow in the higher elevations. It travels through a pine and spruce forest, but the iconic displays here are the rock displays called needles, where they stand up as spikes. Out west, they seem to be the same thing as what they would have called hoodoos, except these are made out of granite and those are out of sandstone. Deer seem to be everywhere. Here's one running across the road. Well, actually walking. Doesn't seem to be in much of a hurry and doesn't really care about the cars. There are 2 tunnels on this road, and this is the Iron Creek Tunnel. And soon we're driving in amongst the rock formations called needles. And we're going to see an eye of a needle a little bit further down the road. And we continue to travel along in the light fog, and soon we come to the Needles Eye Tunnel, and we'll be going through after this truck. It's definitely a one-lane tunnel. As we come out the other end, we're going to park and look around a while at the needles all around us. And then there's the needle's eye. You can see how it looks kind of like a needle's eye there. And it matters which way you look at it. The one in the middle actually is the needle's eye, but it's not able to see it. Then off we go. The sky gets a little bit bluer and maybe a little bit less fog. And then we arrive at Sylvan Lake, the end of the Needles Highway, and the end of our time in Custer State Park.
We'll be leaving Custer State Park for now, but we'll be returning later in the day to go back through some of it.
Soon we're heading back into Custer State Park. And as we're driving along, we notice something running along the side of the road. It's a coyote. He's hanging around this blacktail prairie dog town, probably looking for some food. And there's a couple of others further on out. These aren't the only predators around the prairie dogs. They've also started releasing back into this area Blackfoot ferrets. They died out about 20 years ago, and now they're reestablishing them. We didn't see any of them or of badgers in this area.
We will now be heading back to the park for a second day and a Jeep tour.
Soon we're entering Custer State Park, and we're going to go off exploring a little on our own We're here a little early for our Jeep safari. This is the largest state park in the nation. While out looking around, we noticed the elk out in the pasture. This must be all the ones they have, because they do only have a small herd right now. One of the cows and the calf seem to be limping. Don't know exactly what happened. Did they get hit by a car, or were they attacked by wolves or some other animals? And then it's time to head to the game lodge, and as it starts to rain. A couple of days ago, we looked across the northern part of Custer State Park. Now we're going to look at the Wildlife Loop Road and into Wind Cave National Park. We go to Custer State Game Lodge, and this is a very historic place. President Calvin Coolidge stayed here for a while, and also Dwight Eisenhower later. We're catching the open Jeep safaris that go out to look for buffaloes like this. That's Deborah the Explorer in the blue hoodie. She's cold. One of the larger herds that you can see in this area of buffalo is at Custer State Park. Unfortunately, we'll not get to see them close up here. We'll explain that in a little bit. As we drive out through the park, we notice the mixed grass prairies, and soon we're seeing a couple of pronghorn down by French Creek. There are about 250 pronghorn in the park, and they run at about 60 miles an hour. They shed their horns each year, and both males and females have horns. They have eyes that bulge out so they can see 340 degrees around them. And about 80% of their diet is sagebrush. They're trying to cross French Creek, and it's kind of flowing fairly fast for them right at this moment. French Creek is the place where Custer's expedition found gold, just a few miles to the east of here. And that set off the gold rush into the Black Hills, which eventually ended the Indian way of life. There's enough grass in the park to feed about 1,000 bison during the winter. The problem is they have 1,300 to 1,500 after the breeding season, so they have a big roundup. Normally these fields are covered with bison like this, but on the last Friday in September there's a huge roundup of all the animals. About 100 cowboys and 100 cowgirls on horseback round them up. They're all in the corral waiting to get processed. This all started out in 1914 with 36 bison reintroduced into this area. And now, as we say, there's about 1,500. On the third Saturday in November, they sell off about 300 to 500 of the bison at an auction, making about $1 million. This keeps the number in the herd and manageable. Also, there's a pronghorn male that was captured during the roundup, and he's inside the fence right now. The problem is that the buffalo carry brucellosis, which will sterilize cattle. So each year they round them up and they vaccinate them against brucellosis and take blood to find out if the females are pregnant or not. They then brand the new calves and release them. They keep random ones to sell during the sale, and the rest are let back into the park. Since there are no bison to look at in Custer State Park, we've gone all the way down to Wind Cave National Park, which is just south of there, to look at their bison for a while. The herds are all led by an older female. The males are kicked out at 3 years old because they cause too much trouble. Males live to be about 14 years old and females to about 30 years old. In order to get milk from a buffalo, the calf has to stick its head up underneath the female and then butter really hard to get the milk flowing. So when they start getting horns, they decide to wean them. And this is the lead female of this group of bison. Calves recognize their mothers not by sight, but by sound, by the grunts they make. You'll note that they swing their head as they walk because they can't see directly in front of them, and they'll walk right into a tree if they didn't. Bison don't have any front teeth, only grinding teeth in the back. And so they can't bite grass off. They grab it with their tongue and pull it out and then stick it into their mouth. And here's a pronghorn male. They do lose their antlers each year and regrow them. They're made out of hair. The males have these fancier horns, but they also have the black spot on their neck to recognize them. Bison are ruminants like cows, so they chew their cud laying around for most of the day. Although the breeding season is mostly ended, here's a male guarding a female. What he does is he stays right with her, thinking she's in heat and trying to wait until she's ready to breed. But here comes a problem. There's a much bigger male than him headed his way, and he decides to back off and let him check out the female. They have scent glands in the top of their mouth that can tell if a female's in heat or not, and that's what he's checking right now. Is she really in heat? And usually where you find bison, you find black-tailed prairie dogs, and they're all over the place. This is the largest prairie dog town in the world. As we said when we were here at Wind Cave, this one is 30 square miles of prairie dog town. Now, the males only connect their tunnels with 2 females, and so it's a breeding group. You can't cross the entire thing underground, but there usually are 2 or 3 openings for each connected burrows. Prairie dog pups stay with their parents for a year before leaving to form their own nest. This male bison that's off by himself is 9 years old. You can see the 0 where he was branded in 2010. So he's one of the older bison. They only live to about 14 years as males because they fight so much. Females live about twice that long. And so this is a bull in his prime. And now it's time to head back into Custer State Park and finish up the wildlife loop. We're not going to see a whole lot of wildlife until we get to the northern end of the loop, and there's some bighorn sheep. There are gaps in the fencing around the park so that bighorn sheep can go in and out of them. They're the only animals that roam over a larger range than the park itself. Unfortunately, this also puts them in the vicinity of domestic goats, and they're susceptible to a disease that will kill them that goats carry. So the herd is actually dying off. And now it's time to leave our open Jeep, which has been so cold, and get back in our warm car with the windows up. As we head south, we see some white-tailed deer, a doe and her fawn from this year.
And this brings us to the end of this video.